Hey everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thanks for joining me on my channel today. It's good to have the company while I sew and ponder things. Today I want to do another take or variation on a traditional block, and this time I want to use one of my favorite blocks, which is the Bear's Paw. This is the first quilt I ever made, first quilt top. It didn't all get quilted in the end, but it was it hand pieced? Yes, I think it was hand pieced, and I was hand quilting it. It didn't get finished, but it still is one of my favorite blocks, and I will put a photo up here, or a drawing at least, of what the bear paw looks like. And I want to focus on just a quarter of the bear paw for the moment. And I may not even do all four. It's variation, so we can do whatever we want. And since I have the jelly roll of Cape Facet fabrics, I thought I might as well see about using one or more of those. These won't necessarily go together, although, you know, as Cape goes, that's a pretty good combination. So what I want to do then is, for the claw parts of the paw, I want to utilize the isosceles triangle thing that we did, the isosceli, and I will put a link to that video down below. That was, I don't know, 3 weeks ago maybe, and I'm hoping I can remember where I had these placed in the Alice quilt now. But I want to use basically the same technique to do the claws, so they're going to be uneven. They may be even different heights. I don't know for sure yet, but that's the general basis of it. And I thought I'd start with this one, although this one could be kind of fun too. What I'm thinking is that these would be the triangles or the claws. Not necessarily, well, you could, I guess. Could do them on the same block, but let's start out not doing that, just to kind of get our bearing on what we want to do. I think, do I want to, oh gosh, yeah, I had this all figured out before I started filming, and here we are yet again. Karen doesn't know what she wants to do. Let's just start with one for the moment. All right, so we'll use this one, and then for the center I have a couple of choices here. At first I thought this one, but this strip has very limited bits of teal in it, so I think this is probably going to be a better bet. And the center, I don't plan on being a square because it's just going to be a variation, and we like to wonkify things. So I'm going to wonkify the center, and am I going to I'm going to change the dimensions of it, the aspect ratio. Do I want it to be wonky? Now let's start out with it, just at least to begin with. We'll start with just a rectangular center. And then I'm also, I gotta quit borrowing things from Alice. I lifted this from Alice too. I think that in between, as a border around the center, I want to do a stripe. Now I've got a couple of different stripes here. I guess I have several stripes here. Small, large, medium, biased, straight. I don't know. But I think I do want to border it at least on two sides. And if I wanted to be really crazy, I could do a smaller stripe and a larger one. There may be enough going on with the claws here that I don't want to do that. And then also, what do I want to do for a background on the claws? Do I want to use this, or do I want to use, say, black or white? I think definitely on this strip I would use black. This strip I might use white. I'm going to use white, and then maybe we'll try it with this one in black if we have time here. All right, so first off, I'm going to cut a rectangle from this and make it pretty good size because I've got some isosceles going on here. And how big do I want to make it? Well, I want to be able to show it to you on camera without zooming out to the top of the Eiffel Tower or something to be able to show it. So maybe start with something about like that, and then add stripes around it. And I'm not going to miter the corners on the stripes. I'm just going to let them butt up against each other. And I think I'll do it something like this. So one's going up and down and one's going sideways. And I just might do two different sizes. If we're going to wonkify it, we're going to wonkify it, right? I could do, say, these two sizes. I'm sorry, that's going to just blow your eyeballs out there. So I'm going to use these two. And, you know, I may find out I don't like it, but that's what we're here for, right? Sometimes we like it, sometimes not so much. So let me first just do that. That's pretty straightforward, rectangle, and put a couple borders on it. I'm thinking I might do it on just two sides, where the in the bear paw you have just two sides that have the claws on them. Then there are sort of sashing strips and 3 more going around. But I think I'm just going to do the two sides. If we do 4 sides, then it's a different pattern, which is perfectly fine, and maybe I'll do that at some point too, but that wouldn't be a bear paw. So, or a quarter of a bear paw. So I will do that and show you what it looks like when I come back. Here is the finished center section, and I like having the 2 different sizes of stripes here, at least so far. Now, the other question that I came up with is, where am I going to put the claws? Because I had been thinking about putting them on these 2 sides, so this is sort of an inner border. But I could potentially do them on these 2 sides, which I think we will do after, we'll decide that after we do the triangles. And I have cut a strip of white that is 2.5 inches just to match up with the 2.5 inches from this strip, and I have them stacked right sides up. So actually with the white it doesn't matter. But now, if you remember or have reviewed the previous bit, we're not going to sew these together yet. We're going to cut triangles, and we're going to do them at random angles. And how steeply I cut them is going to factor into how long they're going to be. And we can always trim them once they're triangles. So I'm just kind of making random cuts here. That's just going to go away. And I don't have to make them actually. I think technically isosceles triangles are equal on those 2 sides, but we are not going to worry about this. And a bear's paw would have 1, 2, 3 claws on each side. And we may or may not stick with that number. We probably won't, actually, because we're going to want to fit them to the sides. So we'll see how this goes. And I'm not doing a full strip. I have cut just a half strip, and I'm not going to need even that probably. But, you know, in case I want to do another block or do a block that has a variety of fabrics out here, then I may as well have room for a little bit of extra. And I don't necessarily want a right triangle, although bear's paw does have right triangles. Okay, that will be plenty. That was also kind of a wild cut there. This will be plenty because I have 2 layers here, so I've got lots of room here. Now, we're going to take the top off that one, sew these together to make a triangle. And then on the next one, so basically I'm going to remove every other one and add that on, and then these will go with those for more triangles. So I think I'm actually going to do that just to keep myself straight here because I've already messed up there. Okay, so I'm going to just go through and match these up so that I can keep track of what I'm doing here. So I will do that and then start sewing those together, and we'll come back and regroup. All right, what I am finding, thanks to my lack of spatial awareness, is that I'm going to need more of these. And of course I have to pay attention to how these will go together. So those, well, they could, I mean, we could see what happens. We could put those 2 together, which would work, but would be a little odd. And I'm going to need plenty of them in order to have enough length here once I sew the seams to fit in there. So I'm going to cut a few more, and then I will sew some strips together, and then we can decide which way we want to, which sides we want to add those to. I have a couple of strips, and they are of varying variness. How do I want to say that? This looks more regular than this because I pieced this together not in the same order as I cut them. So they are wonkier, and I did that mostly on purpose because I wanted to see which I liked better. I kind of think I like the wonkier, but I'm just a wonky person. All right, so I have to trim them, obviously, and I'll lose the points on some probably. I'm all right with that. So I will trim those and then come back and we can decide how we want to lay this out. You will notice that I have cut some curves here because that's another option. I could still cut it straight later on if I want to, but I wanted to give the option for a curve because sometimes I like curves. Now, there will be a white bit in here. Let me just cut something there too, so we know what that will look like. And I think I'm glad I did white on this one. Might make a different choice on others, but I think I like white on this one. All right, so that's what it would be if I did it that way, or I could do it this way. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I also don't know if I want these to be this wide, but, and I may end up throwing something in there. And you know, with me, it could be something like a black circle. Honestly, I think I like it better that way. You will have to let me know if you think otherwise. I don't know. Yeah, I think I definitely like it better this way. Not sure what happens if I make that smaller. Is that better, do you think? It places a little more emphasis on these than if I have the wider strip. And of course it'll be a 1/4 inch narrower anyway. I think I do want to trim that off a bit, just because I think it's too wide. It's going to affect the length of that a little bit, but I can live with that. It's a pretty wild and crazy bear paw. It would be kind of interesting to see how it would look with different fabrics and probably different sizes. Maybe different in the stripes that I use and how wide they are. I'm almost thinking these stripes are way too wide. I had envisioned them much narrower than I've got them here, so. I think not that narrow, but maybe not as wide as the other. Yeah, I think that's too wide. It's going to affect the length of the strips that we have here, and I am bearing in mind that I still have the 1/4 inch to take off here. And these do not have to be the same width, and so I'm going to cut that one a little shorter, actually. Narrower, whatever. Okay. So, I will sew. I'm going to, first of all, sew one strip on. I want to do this. Let's go this direction. And then I'll have a little bit there. I'm all right with that. So this will go to the edge here, and I will trim that up. Then this will get sewn onto this. Really have to trim that straight. This could be wonky, but I'm going to make it straight. And then that will get sewed onto here. So I will go ahead and do that, and then I want to think about something else. All right, I left this as curves. Don't know if I'm going to like that in the end or not, but it's where we're at. Now, my eye is telling me that this is too much to balance this out. So I need something to fill this space. And I've cut out various circles of sizes in black, white, and a stripe. I rather like a large black one in there, and then that would continue throughout other blocks. I'm almost thinking that this would just be a block on its own, that I wouldn't finish out the other 3 quadrants of the traditional block or have the sashing in between. It's just what I'm thinking right now. I could also put white, but a small white one's pretty blah. These 2 are the same size. I would probably prefer to make them different sizes. But I really think that big black dot spot circle statement is a nice one. Maybe a little bit smaller than that, but add something else in. I might even put that in. That might be too much. Just give it a little bit of an edge there. And then it balances out this, or breaks up, I guess, this large space of that color. Could just be the black circle on it. I'm trying hard to not make that look like an eyeball. So I don't want to put it in the center there. That might be okay, just something emerging. Probably want it to go this way if I'm going that route. It's going to look like a bug now, isn't it? I don't know, but what I don't just like the black spot there. What do you think? Let me zoom in just a little bit here. There's a part of me that thinks that that's too large, and a part of me that likes it nice and large, because I like circles. Of course, I'm combining a lot of things I like here, the black and white stripe and circles. Kind of nice solid here. I have some prints for you all that like prints. And of course, another possibility would be to, as I'm doing other blocks, to make this a different color and use different prints, probably more cave because I have plenty of cave. And then it would be a good variety, and the stripes and a black circle on each of them would help to tie them all together. And this circle might change size. I suppose I could, the white is just blah somehow. Maybe it looks like a hole in it because that's the back. I don't know, but I just think that is more striking. It's not quite as, now if I made this circle as large as this one, I think it would be much too distracting because it is a huge contrast with this fabric. But this is, you know, black makes bright pop, but this isn't exactly bright. It's more of a shade. So, and I could overlap this, but I don't think so. I'm just liking it out here somewhere. What do you think? Comments always welcome. And it turned out a little differently than I was envisioning because these are wider and I hadn't planned on this in the center. And I guess maybe I'd planned on these being relatively larger than this. So nothing is like I thought it was going to be, except that these are wonky triangles and I have black and white stripes in there. But I kind of like it, and if we do different widths of stripes here, both in terms of the stripe print itself, but also different width of these strips that we've inserted, and different colors and prints, it will have the same general pattern, same general design, but there will be enough variety to make it interesting and modern and scrappy. So I'm thinking just that plain black circle. But let me know what you think. Always love comments. And next week we'll, I don't know, maybe we'll pursue some more of this, try adding different fabrics on there or something completely different. I don't know. Got a whole week. And I hope I will see you next week for whatever we decide to do. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.